Join the girls. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Trigger warning. Before we begin, please be advised that this episode includes a discussion of allegations concerning minors, exploitation, and sensitive subject matter that may be disturbing for some listeners. We understand these conversations can be heavy. If this subject matter is difficult for you, please feel free to skip this episode and take care of yourself first.
Hey, girl.
Hey,
What's going on?
girl, have you been watching this whole David Celeste situation unravel?
Yes. What a dark sight. Ooh.
I just, for the life of me, I don't understand how a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14, a minor, how was she allowed to just be out in the world and no one going to get her? My mom would have dragged my dad along and she would have took every police she could have put her hands on and would have screamed from the top of her lungs out there pounding the pavement to get me. I don't understand how this girl was allowed to just be around this situation and no one looking for her or going to get her.
But I believe her mother was looking for her and found her multiple times, dragged her back home, but she continued to leave and go back and forth. I mean, how many times are you going to continue to do that?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. From what I read, they met on Fortnite, I think.
Y-
This is
Again.
some gaming
Yeah.
program, a gaming platform.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
And that's so sad because a lot of kids play Fortnite. A lot. So can you imagine of who else is on there? I'm gonna say preying on kids and stuff.
They said those gaming systems or those streaming systems are notorious for PDFers on there.
I believe it.
And oftentimes the children are thinking they're playing with other children their age, but they're playing with adults. And then that's how situations happen. Like, oh God, it's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was brought into court last week.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the highlights that I've read, what was discovered on with David, was they found a significant amount of child inappropriateness on his iCloud.
Yeah, what they said, 40 terabytes? Is it terabytes?
40 terabytes of evidence.
Yeah. Whew.
40 terabytes is a massive amount of data. And let me just tell you, 40 terabytes is equivalent to 40,000 gigabytes. It's also equivalent to 40 trillion bytes.
So
40 trillion bytes.
wow.
And that's storage capacity of approximately 10,000 movies or 250,000 photos.
Now tell me how true can that, I mean, how true can that be? How can his phone store all that data? How?
The iCloud, I don't know. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's sad.
And according to a private investigator, a burn cage was also discovered in the home that he rented.
What is that?
A burn cage is a heavy-duty steel container designed for safely incinerating yard debris, cardboard, and brush in a backyard setting. Now, I researched that because I'm like, what is a burn cage?
Yeah.
They found it in the house that he rented. It was unused. It was still in its original packaging, and it burns at 1,600 degrees, 1,600 degrees. Now, according to my research, crematoriums set their equipment at 1,400 degrees.
And this one was 1600, you said?
This was 1,600 degrees. So this one burns at 1,600 degrees. Now, crematoriums, everybody knows that's where someone goes when you want to cremate a body.
Mm-hmm.
They set theirs at 1,400 degrees. How is that even possible to purchase?
That, yeah, that doesn't make sense. And how, I mean, you brought this into the home. You're gonna tell me you set that on you turn it on, it's not gonna burn the house down? I mean, that is extremely hot.
I know. And according to the landlord that owns the property
Oh.
that the police raided and he lived in,
Mm-hmm.
the landlord rented that property to David's manager.
Oh.
And the landlord claimed he had no idea that David was living there.
Listen, that landlord probably didn't care because David probably was paying $40,000 or $50,000 a month to rent that place.
Well, I don't know if about him not caring. He found out, I guess, on the news like everybody else that that house was raided. So he hired his own private investigator
Mm.
to go in there and find out what was going on. Because how many landlords do checks and stuff? You know what I'm saying? If you actually rent it to somebody, I don't know how often they do. I don't even know how long David was there. But of course, if the rent is coming, you're probably not even bothered with it. But then again, he was on the road. So if he was touring at the time, David, I don't know.
But you look at it too. When you're renting a normal location, you want first month, whatever, second month security. And plus, they're going to do a credit check. They're going to check, make sure you're capable of paying this rent. So, what did that, his manager, whomever, produce to say, I'm able to support this rent?
Whatever he produced
Oh.
showed that he had the income to pay the mortgage and or pay the rent, because I know it's very, very expensive to rent in LA, to purchase and everything. Whatever it was enough for the manager to give it to him. But the not the manager, the landlord, to rent to him. But the manager also lived in another state.
Mm,
He rented it so that David could have somewhere to live. I'm assuming, a lot was going on in there. But yeah, it's strange.
yeah.
But anyway, he had to have other people witness what was going on. When they have these PDFers, you have people that protect you from everything that's going on.
You can look at that girl in her face at those older photos and say that she's a minor. I mean, come on, hang up
Well,
her with him.
according to the DA, this is what he did. They believe well, I don't know if the DA said it, but I did see some talking and rumblings about she was not the only victim.
I heard that too.
Yeah, she was not the only underage minor victim
Hmm.
that he was involved with. And yeah, it's crazy. And then I was watching the CBS News, and one of the reporters said the district attorney said that David was SAing Celeste as of September 2023, just after she turned 12.
Oh my goodness.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
But I also heard allegedly that he was sending monthly payments to her parents, $10,000 a month.
I saw that in the comments. There was a lot of people in the comments under, the postings about this, saying the same thing, saying the mother knew.
Yeah.
Um, Someone in the comments section said shortly after Celeste and David got with each other or started dealing with each other, her family moved out of the projects into a house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how much of this is true. But in the comments, people are saying the parents failed them. The mother knew, they knew about it. Someone even stated that after her mom had called the police a couple of times to retrieve Celeste, and they had put out things wanting to look for her and search for her, that allegedly her mom told neighbors to stop looking for her. So I don't know what's true, what isn't true. How does a child go missing? Did the school report it? Did they report it to Child Protective Services because she's not showing up for class? Is there a truancy law in place that would have had the police go looking for? I don't know. How does someone that young slip out of your hands?
Yeah. But if, they go to look for her, find her, bring her back, and then the next month or two, she's gone again. I mean, how many times you going to continue to do this? They're going to say she's just a runaway.
Yeah, and pretty much probably wash their hands of it.
Yeah. And they said
Wash.
also, when the family was getting the $10,000 a month, once they found out that Celeste was gone, deceased, the payment stopped. So that seems kind of weird too and suspicious. So,
So hopefully they do follow the money and try to, obtain the banking records of the family to see if this stuff is even true, because Nothing surprises me anymore. I hate to say it, but nothing surprises me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that I did see Megan Kuniff, who was actually at the hearing, and she said David's preliminary hearing is now scheduled for May 1st, 2026. He's back in court Wednesday, April 29th, to discuss how much discovery has been obtained and whether the prelim will proceed.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is what the discovery includes, according to Megan. It includes a body worn video, DNA trace evidence, photographs from the serving of search warrants, and wiretap.
Wow.
Wiretap. Yeah, yeah.
I heard that
So,
too with the wiretap. They said that they have like 6 months of information, that they have like a outside party going through and listening to the actual recordings, because I guess at some point David was speaking with his attorney too, so the other side could not hear those recordings until I guess they scrub it out, because they can't hear what he was discussing with his attorney. So
oh, attorney-client privilege, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. 6 months?
6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's being charged with unaliving with special circumstances. I found out information about this whole deal with him being charged with unaliving with special circumstances versus just being charged with the unaliving. So, according to Tiffany Blacknell Law, who is a criminal lawyer who has been practicing in LA for 23 years, shared her thoughts on why David was charged with the special circumstances
Mm-hmm.
by the Los Angeles District Attorney. At this point, David can't bail out. Under regular unaliving, he could bail out. He could post bail and get out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because he's charged with unaliving with special circumstances, which means the unaliving is more heinous and especially cruel, he's most likely not getting bail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This also has something doing with parole eligibility as well.
Okay.
According to Attorney Blacknell, David was 20 years old at the time when the unaliving was committed. And under California law, he would be paroled in 20 years if he was charged with just regular unaliving with no special circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that part?
Yeah. Yeah.
But because he's being charged with unaliving with special circumstances, he would never be eligible for parole.
Wow.
Attorney Blacknell says she believes that the DA filed unaliving with special circumstances was to prevent him from bailing out to keep him still.
But let me say this. It's so sad what happened to this girl. Young, probably was in love, just running, chasing love. But anybody in their right mind, I feel like it's a setup with him, because who would do some unaliving and put the pieces in a bag inside a car that is registered to yourself? Who would do that?
Okay, I don't know. I don't have the mindset of an unaliver, but I found that very, very weird. And he had some accomplices. Someone was involved. There's no way he did this all on his own. There's just no way. And I'm sure some of those people are probably going to turn state's evidence, get immunity to tell what they know to protect themselves. It's unfortunate that no one thought enough of her to say, this is not right. Let me protect her. Let me get her out of here. It's just sad. Women are just like, and especially children, just at the low bottom of the totem pole when it comes to everything that's happening in America right now. It's sad. It's not shocking, but it's really disgusting that women and children we're on our own.
Yep, yep, I agree. I also heard that he may change his plea from not guilty to guilty due to, I mean, I don't know if they can pinpoint that he was the one who did the unaliving, but
Yeah.
because they found all that CP stuff
Child.
on his phone, that's enough of evidence to charge him with that. So he
Yeah.
may plead guilty because of that.
I did hear some attorneys saying and some people commenting about it's going to be hard to prove that he did the actual unaliving based on a lot of circumstances, but the whole child corn chip stuff he had,
Yeah.
that alone will send him up the river for a very long time. And this is just a warning because we're going to talk about some of the autopsy results. So if anyone's listening at this point, you may want to turn it off if this is going to trigger you. But I feel as though if we can save one child or just bring to light to parents too, these
Yeah.
streaming platforms, although they entertaining, they are dangerous, and it's just worse that these people are manipulating these young children,
Yeah.
and it's like a PDF's playground. Not only that, I've also heard about racist people also recruiting young kids to do this platform as well.
Mhm.
So according to the autopsy, her unaliving was at the result of two sharp incisions, stab wounds,
Mhm.
and one of her eyeballs were missing. I think two of her fingers were just missing. I'll say that. Her head and her torso were found in one bag and their other limbs in the other.
Mhm.
This poor girl, all I hope is that she was not alive when all this was done to her. Someone also accused one of the fingers that were missing, saying that she had his name tattooed on the side of her finger. So this is what is being said and what I've read from various people. I'm not sure how true all this is, but I know with that autopsy report, it was so hard for me to read it and hear about it. But that's what happened. This poor baby was dismembered.
They also said she had, I think, on one of her fingers, because I think they cut two. One had a tattoo that said "shh," sh, like otherwise, shh, be quiet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He has the same tattoo on his finger too. It's like SHHH or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering like who tattooed this underage girl without consent from her parents. Nobody asked for ID. But once again, when you have money, you have power, you have fame, people will give people grace, more grace than they should, or overlook certain things because of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fall victim of that. This guy has a song called Romantic Homicide.
Oh no.
And on his tour, this last tour he had a casket delivered to some of his tour dates. He was selling shirts that resembled blood on the t-shirts or the shirts. He himself would have his hands dipped in red paint,
Oh.
and he would spatter the paint on the shirt, the red paint on the white shirt, and he would sell that. So there's a macabre situation going on where people was into that. They were buying the merchandise. They said if you listen to his music, it clearly states and it kind of resembled what happened to her. It had decapitation in it, and it's just really weird. It's like I don't know if art imitated life or life imitated art, but in the midst of that, it's all in his music. From what I said, I don't want to listen to it. I don't want to listen to the darkness,
Yeah.
but this guy has been singing about this and talking about this. I only heard about him when Celeste was missing.
Yeah.
Poor Celeste, rest in peace. But I've never heard of David at all ever. But apparently, he performed at Coachella. I saw a photo of him standing in front of this big billboard sign saying from Fortnite to Coachella.
Oh wow.
Like this guy was rising. Like I said, money and fame just magnify who you really are.
Yeah. Yeah. So he has some dark secrets himself. Very dark.
Very, very dark. And I did see a video of him where I don't remember what song it was, but his mom heard the song and was like, "Oh my God, are we unaliving people now?" And his mom told him to change the lyrics. And he said, he thought about it. He held back on the song for a while, but he eventually released the song and he did not change the lyrics. From what I've read in some of the titles, he has some dark music. And he had a fan base that also enjoyed that dark music.
Wow. Mm. I know they also said too. I think he has property. I don't want. I think I want to say
Oh,
Texas and somewhere else. Wherever the property is, they said he put the property in his mom's name.
yeah, I heard he transferred it out his name
Mm-hmm.
into his parents' name. Their house was also raided too. I forget where it is, but their house was raided. They wanted the parents and the brother to testify, but they refused at some point. So there's a lot going on. How did the system fail this young girl? It just brings me back to me watching. What was the girl that was missing? It was a YouTuber. I think her name was Gabby something. And I remember watching the documentary about what happened with her. She and her boyfriend, they set out on this like road trip. And at one point they got into an altercation to the point where police got involved. And I saw them interviewing her. They separated the two. And she was visibly upset, and she was telling what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the boyfriend, he was calm. The cops were talking to him. And I feel like the cops just pretty much chalked it up. Oh, it's a woman overreacting. And I'm looking at this saying, at this point, they should have made both of them go their own separate way, bring her back down to the police department, have her call her family,
Mm-hmm.
and have the family know what's going on and come get her.
Right.
They just told them, oh, just separate for the night or whatever, whatever. And I looked at that and said, oh my God, they're just chalking this up as, oh, another woman just overreacting. I feel they just left her in his hands and didn't really do the job I felt they should have done. They should have definitely make her go back to that police department or have her come down there. It was her truck they were in and have her call her parents. But they let him go about their way. Next thing you know, he returns home. Gabby's nowhere to be found.
Wow.
And then come to find out, he unalived her.
Hmm. And they should charge the police officers too, because
Negligence.
yeah.
As I'm watching this, I'm saying to myself, if they don't believe a young white blonde hair girl crying about being attacked by this boyfriend, we're screwed.
Hmm.
We're screwed. They are so numb to the point where even a white girl with blonde hair that you just dismissed her and left her to fend for herself, and you guys just walked away and were fine with that call.
Yeah, because they don't want to get involved. They don't want anything to do with it. Trust me, they don't want to get involved.
They didn't want the paperwork, but
Nope.
as I felt like they saw themselves in that young man and felt like, oh, well, I believe him more than I believe her. I knew right then and there we were screwed because if a young girl, young blonde haired white girl, could not get them to pay attention and realize this is not right, let me protect her, women of America, we are screwed.
Hmm. Let me just backtrack. You said that they wanted to interview David's parents.
Yeah, I think it was a TMC story. Hold on, let me pull that up real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so this exclusive, it's titled David's Family Grand Jury Wants to Grill Them, but They're Not Down. Okay, so it was published on February 12th, 2026 and updated on March 13th, 2026. So according to TMZ, this article states, this looks like a big update in the David case. Prosecutors want to call the singer's mother, father, and brother to testify before the grand jury in California.
Hmm.
But David's family isn't giving in without a fight. According to new legal docs obtained by TMZ, David's fam is claiming a court order summoning them to testify in California violates their due process rights. Duwad, Colleen, and Caleb Burke, who all live in Texas, claim they were denied due process because they were given redacted versions of the affidavits used to support a lower Texas court's order summoning them to be witnesses in a California grand jury proceeding. That's interesting because we know there's been a grand jury convened since at least November in the Celeste Rivas unaliving case, and multiple witnesses have already testified. Our sources have told us David is likely to be charged with Celeste unaliving. David's family contends that because the affidavits were redacted, they had no info on why they would be considered material witnesses in the case, and they didn't have the opportunity to challenge the trial court's determination that they are, in fact, material witnesses.
Wow.
The stalemate here won't last forever. The appeals court set a 10-day deadline for the trial court judge to answer.
Mhm.
We know at least two witnesses who have gone before the grand jury in the Rivas case: Robert Morgenroth, the president of David's touring company, and Neo Langston, a popular streamer who was friends with David.
Uh-huh. They wanted to question David's family, but no one reached out to Celeste people? Come on.
I don't know if they did or did not because they didn't, no one spoke about it, but I still can't believe that a minor
Yeah.
was allowed to roam around this way without anyone. I just don't know. I don't know the back history, but I just know as long as you are a minor, your parents are responsible for you. And if you kept running away and running away, she was a minor. Could they not have put her in a home? Could you not have, set her up in a group home? I don't know. Like, what did you do to try to prevent her from being with this guy?
Yeah, but you put her in a group home, there's still the doors are wide open. That's not going to prevent her from leaving again. When you want to leave or escape from somewhere, you're going. I don't care how many locks, I don't care how many eyeballs on you. If you don't want to be there, you are not going to be there. So,
I know, but I think a group home probably would did a better job than what her parent did. As a parent, what avenues did you take to try to really make sure if you could not control her? Did you not think, let me put her somewhere where there are people around the clock where they can watch her because I can no longer do it?
I think only place that she could have gone that they would watch her around the clock would have been jail on lockdown. That's it. All these rooms, I mean, you can put chains on the door or you can put alarms on the door. If that person don't want to be there and there's a way to get out, they're gone.
But I think there should be a lot of research on the family, Celeste's parents, the police department that was handled or called to handle this disappearance of her, the school system. One teacher spoke about Celeste being a student in his class. So what happened with the school system? If a person is underage and they don't show up from school, there's a system in place where you call some truancy person and they get involved? Like what happens? What happens?
Yeah. Those probably were the good old days back in the days. I don't even know if they still do that now. To go look for you if you don't show up for school. I don't even know if they do that.
Child protective services should have been called in because there has to be something in place where this girl is not showing up to school. If she's not showing up to school, wouldn't that cause concern? Is she okay? Is she still alive? Did something happen to her? Like, does anyone research that?
Yeah. Who knows? Or they just call you a dropout or that. I don't know.
Yeah, but at a underage, I don't think you're able to drop out. I think 16 or something. But if she's 12 and 13 and 14 and she's not showing up to school, did people just dismiss it and just let it go?
Or do you just not register her for the following year? Who knows? Or say she's out of state, she moved with her dad. Who knows?
Well, I'm sure there had to be some documentation or something just to clear themselves and protect themselves as a school. I don't know. It's just really sad because how many other victims,
Yeah.
how many other girls or young boys are on these streaming platforms being groomed right now as we speak?
Yeah, there's a lot. Fortnite is a game that a lot of kids play. It's sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I hope that someone hears this story or, start paying attention and watching what's going on. And these young kids, listen to your parents, man. You have all the rest of your life to be an adult, be a child as long as you can, and enjoy your youth the best way you can.
I agree, 100%.
It just makes me go back to with this whole thing with R. Kelly and Aaliyah, and then Brandy with the Wanyá, and
Hmm.
it's always these male artists involved, and they cannot do these things alone. There's people that are privy to what's happening. They know, they're aware of it, but they're not going to say anything because people don't want to disrupt their life, their livelihood, their money,
Yeah,
their perks. I expect more from women. If women knew something was going on, I would hope that the maternal kicks into you and the mama bear kicks in, and you want to protect this young child.
yeah.
And it's evident that there's some women that have been around, because there's some girl in particular on TikTok. She had to make a statement and say, "Hey, you guys are leaving me threatening messages, saying why didn't I say something? I was there." And she said, "Well, he told me she was of age." And then at one point, this young lady said she asked him to show her proof of her age,
Mm-hmm.
and he couldn't show her. So she said she just stopped associating with him
Wow.
and said she had nothing to do with what happened with Celeste, but she just felt that he couldn't prove that Celeste was of age. I don't know. I guess everybody's in self-preservation mode. You just got to really be careful and remind yourself that you are out here on your own, because some people that may have a heart and try to help you and try to guide you better, and some won't. Some will just turn around and just go the opposite way.
Yeah, that's true. Especially when it's involving, like you said, their livelihood. They just turn a blind eye, even though someone is in the midst of getting, someone's in trouble.
It's sad.
Yeah, that David thing is a mess. Wow.
It's just a sick world, and it looks like our world is being ran by these PDFers. There's a lot of darkness in our children. Our children are the prey.
Yeah.
And there's people that will help protect this and people that condone it. It runs so deep.
Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of our children being preyed on, again, let's talk about this. Let's start with R. Kelly and Aaliyah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody know R. Kelly he's now incarcerated. And I did a research online about the timeline of this R. Kelly and Aaliyah situation. Aaliyah was a minor when she was signed to her uncle's label,
Mm-hmm.
and R. Kelly was served as a mentor. He worked on her album with her, and they became, well, yeah, it was another Celeste and David situation. Fortunately for Aaliyah, she didn't lose her life because of it, her physical life, but God knows how her life changed because and altered because of this grown man being involved with her. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
So it said 1993 to 1994, there was a meeting of collaboration. Aaliyah was a teenager beginning her music career. R. Kelly was already an adult, an established artist, became heavily involved in producing and writing her debut album. R. Kelly wrote and produced much of her Ain't Nothing But a Number album,
Mm-hmm.
a title that later drew intense scrutiny. In 1994, there was rumors of a secret marriage between the two. The reports emerged that the two were romantically involved, and in August 1994, a marriage certificate surfaced showing Aaliyah listed as 18 and R. Kelly as 27, although she was actually 15 at the time.
Wow.
I remember that, and I was shocked. There was a printout of a copy of the marriage certificate listing the two of them that got married. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1995, the marriage was annulled. Aaliyah distanced herself professionally and personally from R. Kelly. So late 1990s and 2000, for years, the situation was often described in media as a relationship or controversy. Many critics later argued that framing minimized the power imbalance between an adult man and a minor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, we lost Aaliyah in 2001. in a plane crash at the age of 22. Between 2019 and 2022, the public started to hear about this all over again with R. Kelly because during documentaries and legal proceedings involving R. Kelly, the situation with Aaliyah was revisited as part of a broader pattern of alleged abuse and exploitation. Again, many people, and myself included, we reject calling it a relationship
Mhm.
because she was a child and he was an adult. Calling it a relationship softens what it really was, an adult with power involving himself with a child.
Yeah.
All right. So then the whole thing with Brandy and Wanyá, which we covered in a previous episode, if you guys want to go listen to that, in the mid 1990s, let's see, Brandy was a teenage star rising quickly in the music television, and Wanya was already an adult and part of one of the biggest R&B groups of that era, Boys to Men.
Mhm.
So they reportedly met while she was a young fan and emerging artist. According to Wanya, he said Brandy's mom reached out to his management or something like that, and she was a fan of his, and they linked up as far as mentorship and stuff like that. And then mid to late 1990s, their situation was framed as dating. Okay, so entertainment media and fans often describe them as a celebrity couple or as dating.
Wow. Um,
The age gap and maturity imbalance were not centered in many conversations at the time. Now, mind you, yeah, this is what was going on.
mhm.
So, Brandy was a minor during their early involvement. Brandy later stated in her memoir that she was underage during the beginning of the involvement.
Mhm.
In 2020, Wanya Morris discussed the past publicly and referenced the intimacy part occurring when she was around 16 or 17, which of course drew some criticism and concern, naturally,
Like it should. Yeah.
as like it should.
Mhm.
Many people argue this should not be romanticized, and I agree.
I agree too.
Critics again said language like they were dating minimizes the fact that one person was a minor and the other was an adult. And again, we're rejecting calling a relationship in a casual sense because a teenager and an adult are not on equal footing.
Right.
The issue is power, age, consent, capacity, and how culture normalized these dynamics.
Because when you say dating, you just assume that they are of age. So they try to overlook that that child was a minor.
And in most states, when you engage in intimacy with a minor, it's called statutory rape.
Yeah.
And it comes with most likely jail time.
Yeah. I agree.
So when the younger person is still a child, again, calling it dating, it just becomes a way to sanitize an imbalance that should have raised alarms.
Yeah. It's like glazing over it.
Glazing over it. Now, I'm thinking, okay, so nobody wants to bring this to the light because once again, think about it. They're not going to really shake their finger, wag their finger at the man. They're going to look at our young girls, especially black and brown girls, and they're not going to treat our young girls as victims. They are going to protect the man. They are going to blame the young girls.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this case with David is still going on, and we'll just keep our eye out on it. But I pray that these young children realize stay a child as long as you can. If you some creepy man or woman and coming towards you, tell your parents about it. Tell the law enforcement, but protect yourselves. These predators are never going to change, and everybody's like, "Oh, don't put it on the." No, educate your children, give them the signs of what to notice, and please find you a responsible adult that's going to react and protect you. Do not go along with this.
Yeah.
Just do not tell someone, please.
I agree.
All right, girl.
All right. I will chit chat with you later.
All right. Until next time,
All right.
talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.